Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and very soon, welcome to Diablo 4. With the early access release less than 48 hours away now, I wanted to really plan out my leveling experience. What are going to be the key things to know going in that will prevent, overly wasted time or any major mistakes with, say, items and choices like that? Well, after not much research, there's quite a few things that are important to know. Let's get started with my most important leveling tips then for the early access launch. Let's start with world tier and how it can be a bit of a mistake to actually just go straight to world tier 2 because of its extra XP that it provides. The fact is, we're all going to do the campaign. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to level as fast as possible or play the game at your own pace. We're all going to do the campaign because it unlocks major endgame content. The problem is, the campaign missions aren't exactly the best XP for time. Some of the missions are extremely long and don't really reward nearly as much XP as you'd hope for that time investment. The optimal way to play then is actually to play in World Tier 1, where you aren't getting, say, 20% extra XP, but the enemies are significantly weaker. This will let you blast through those slower campaign missions and chunks of the game, unlocking the map, getting loads of renown, progressing your character and getting skill points, certainly quicker compared to playing on level 2. However, there is a lot of value in playing on level 2 when you have, say, power spikes, when you can bunch together a lot of side quests. The thing is, when it comes to main quests and side quests, you're just not going to reach level 50 if all you were to do was do the campaign. So some kind of side content will likely be required to reach 50, where we're focusing the campaign as much as possible, that's the target, but a careful balance of not pushing the world content too far beyond our current level is the way to do it. We don't want to fall too far behind in power that we end up progressing really slowly because the enemies are too high level, but focusing the campaign on, say, World Tier 1 and getting effective chunks of side content to catch your level up, while in, say, World Tier 2 for its 20% increased XP, this is going to be a good way to approach it. And we can change our world tier whenever we want in town. Speaking of quests though, let's also talk about class quests, which are absolutely vital to do. They're unlocked at certain levels on each class, and depending on the class you're playing, you'll go to a different person, different place to follow that storyline. Through that, you'll unlock something very important for your class, the unique class mechanic. In the case of Rogue, we have things like specializations, like combo points, which empower your skills based on how many combo points you built up to spend on a skill. That, compared to not having it, is a huge power spike, and unlocked specifically level 15. These class quests, say, for Necromancer, would be how you unlock your golem. So they're very important, they're very impactful, and that's why you need to do them when they're available to you. The problem is they seem to spring up at different levels depending on the class, and also require different locations to start, so you might have to journey a bit further for some of them. But to say the least, because of the big power spike they provide, there's something you just don't want to put off as soon as you're able to do them. Speaking of progression with your class though, let's talk about your early skill spending. To begin with, you'll pick a basic attack, which is generally something that is free to use and helps build the main resource of your class. Then the next thing you pick is a core skill. These are vital. They're basically your bread and butter, the majority of how you're going to deal damage with most builds. It's extremely likely that the basis of a build that you're playing is all about that one core skill that you're going to pick to use. Therefore, you actually want to level these to 5 out of 5 as soon as possible, because that will increase the damage these abilities do, and also all the perks depending on the ability. Of course, enhancements can be fantastic, but don't let that mean your main damage dealer is falling behind for any not really good reason. Another topic that comes up a lot is the mount. How and when do you get it? Well, at roughly level 30, when you're following the campaign, you're actually just going to unlock the first mount. It's tied to the story though, so you can't just power level to, say, 30 using other methods. You'll need to do a certain quest, and that quest is the Mount Donan's Favor. Once you've unlocked it, it will appear in the Stable Master in town. You can actually access your mounts and even change their cosmetics if you've got any unlocked in the Stable Master menu. Next, let's talk about potions and herbs. You should always be gathering materials, whether that's ore or herbs or whatever. Now, specifically with herbs, these are going to be used to craft elixirs, which provide strong benefits and X amount of XP for 30 minutes. In the beta, that was 5% XP for just having one of these running for 30 minutes, which is therefore something well worth putting the effort in and having while you're leveling. These mats are also doubling up in importance because they're what you use to upgrade your health pots. The number one priority for gathering with herbs though is going to be Gallovine and Bite Berries. Both are vital for a variety of experience pot options and the all-important health pot upgrades, the early ones at very least. Later, yeah, you'll need others like Howler Moss, Redamine and Pale Tongue and more, but these won't really be until you're level 50 plus upgrades. Looking at the list of elixirs we can make, Iron Barb seems to be a very good option because it only requires level 5 to make, and you need just 5 Gallovine and 5 Bite Berries to make that. Either way, as soon as you make it to town, get some experience pots made and have them running while you're playing. Speaking of ores though, and other gathering, you should be gathering iron and other ores wherever possible. These resources will be used to upgrade gear and massively improve the stats of that gear. Salvaging your gear will lead to things like iron chunks, silver ore, veiled crystals, and even scattered prisms, the rarer and more high quality stuff giving you the better rewards. The ores and crystals are going to be used to improve both weapons and jewelry, where the prisms are used to add sockets to gear. Both are very important, so you're going to need a lot of this stuff. Using these resources to upgrade your gear is going to be vital though, but at a certain stage, when to use these resources to upgrade gear is something you need to think about. While leveling, you're going to be getting new gear constantly until things slow down and you plateau a little bit. So upgrading your gear doesn't seem worth it in that case, I'm sure, but item stats seem to be set by its power level, and these actually have breakpoints, so the idea is that if you're going to reach the next tier or level on an item, going from say breakpoint 3 to 4, that could actually make a big difference on the stats on the said item. When you look at a piece of equipment, you'll see its power level. Let's say you've got a piece of equipment that's at power level 335. If you were to upgrade it, it would go to say 345. Well, the breakpoint from second tier to third tier is actually between that. As soon as you go over 340, you reach the next tier, the stats on the item will go noticeably up, and that could be well worth the materials. I'll put the breakpoints on screen now so you can pause and look at that, but general advice seems to be hold off on upgrading things until you're reaching the third level, where you're going to push an item from just below 340 into 340 plus, or from a higher tier to an even higher tier. Now, salvaging items and that advice is good, but you might also want to sell equipment as well. For example, just applying an aspect can be pretty expensive. There's plenty of things you're going to need to spend your money on. And since we want the salvaging, as I've just explained, and we still need money, there's going to be sort of a ratio to consider. It seems like a good plan is to sell some of the rares you find while salvaging the majority. Maybe every 4 rares you get, you sell one of them. Some people plan to just sell all the blues they get because the mats you get from salvaging those are nowhere near as good, and that could be a main source of income in the early days for you. All right, the big one, aspects. From most classes, avoid applying aspects from inventory to, say, weapons while leveling. This is because weapons are one of the most common and relevant drops, and it'd be really bad to waste a powerful aspect on something that you'll just change in a very short time because, say, a weapon with higher power means a lot more DPS. This is okay if you're imprinting from your codex because these are ones you've unlocked and you can just apply again and again, but let's say you found a dropped legendary, you've taken the aspect of it, and now you're going to imprint it on another piece of gear. That's a one and done situation. Once you've imprinted that temporary in inventory aspect you've pulled off of one legendary, it's again only one use. That would suck if you used it on something you ended up replacing pretty quickly. On that note though, be aware that weapons, and especially two-handed weapons, have a much higher power percent on the aspect you're applying to that compared to, say, wearables. So applying a aspect to a weapon can indeed be very powerful if you want a high percent on that effect. And on that note, uniquely, rogues can benefit from equipped weapons they might not be using. For example, if I'm like a melee twisting blades build and I'm not using the bow I have at all for a single point of damage, well then affixing an aspect of power to that bow can be fantastic because it will get that higher percent as a weapon, and it won't matter if I replace that bow because I'm not using it for any damage anyway. If that concept applies to you and your build, it's certainly something to know about. Next, let's talk about Obals. These are a resource you collect, then gamble with using a specific vendor type, and they're known as Murmuring Obals, or Obals for short. And you trade these with the Purveyor of Curiosities. Obals are these purple coins though, and you get them through different play, like world events. And you spend them at the Purveyors to RNG create an item of relevance to you. Whenever you do this, you're probably going to get an unlucky item, but you'll have the chance to roll something very useful or even legendary, so of course it's worth doing. Previously, everyone was rolling gloves and boots because they were the cheapest options, but they've balanced it a bit better now. The best advice I've read and looked at through all of this is as follows. If you want an offensive option and you're a barbarian or rogue, then buy the one-handed weapons. That'll cost 50 of these Obals. If you're any of the other classes, well then you'll want to buy the offhand focus item for 40. For a defensive option, you want to buy the legs for 40. For resource generators, you want to buy rings for 60. Utility can come from boots, and mobility can come from boots for 40. So depending on what you want, those are probably your best options. Obals have a cap on how many you can carry though, and you can reach that pretty easily when not spending them regularly. When you hit the cap, they'll still drop, but you won't be able to pick any more up, so you want to prevent that and never overcap. So consider what gear you want to pick up and why using this currency, but do know you can increase the Obal cap via the Renown system. So let's talk about that. Renown leads to account-wide unlocks for your characters. Each region has 5 levels to unlock, providing gold for your character, different important unlocks, and some very important benefits for all characters on that realm. Each region has new unlocks to get, but for Fractured Peaks, there's a bonus skill point for all characters on that realm. Second, an extra potion for all characters. Third, another skill point for all characters. After that, we can increase our max Obals by 80 and even get 4 Paragon points on the final tier, which is equal to 1 level at 50 plus, which is very good, but we'll have to have unlocked Nightmare for that. Obviously, these rewards are valuable to your character and will serve as a major boost to any ults you might make after your main. As you can see though, we can unlock Renown through unlocking waypoints, strongholds, side quests, areas discovered, side dungeons, and altars of Lilith. These all have different values based on the challenge and relevance of the unlock. Strongholds reward the most by far, but take quite a while and are more involved. Dungeons seem to be the best min-max source of Renown though, because you could go to a dungeon to go unlock a specific aspect, and also you're getting some good Renown for the effort. But if you're not trying to min-max your way, there's nothing wrong with maxing out Renown in the region, because the unlocks are very good. But there you have it. I believe that was about 12 main topics of importance, questions that I wanted answered, things I looked into, and hopefully things that should prevent us from making bad mistakes. Overly holding on to say Obals or wasting one use inventory aspects, not upgrading certain equipment when you could push it to the next tier of power, and so on. These are things I'm glad to know going in, that's for sure. If this video has helped you though, be sure to drop a like, and if you have any extra tips to help people leveling in the opening days, then drop it in the comments. We're going to be making a lot of Diablo 4 videos as we go, on topics we think should help, answering the questions being asked. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, see you at launch.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.